the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. I call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Verification of public notice. This meeting was publicly noticed. Verification of a quorum. We actually have 6 of our 7 board members in attendance. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Dr. Beto, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 6-0. And let's go on to our mission statement. Together with our families and community, we will inspire students to be passionate learners, creative thinkers, and innovative leaders who enrich our world. All right, let's go on to our business office reports. Business office report, Mr. Klimick.
Good evening, members of the board. A few items to just bring to your attention this evening. I did late this afternoon update a new version of the business office report with one additional item that I'll share today. So if you haven't had a chance to go to board docs, if you want to follow along, you can, but that information is out there. So first of all, we did get our July 1st equalization aid estimate. The state DPI announces what the aid will be for the upcoming school year, or the estimate for that aid to all the school districts. We actually saw another significant increase even from what I presented to you for the preliminary budget, which you approved in June. So we are looking at a total of about $13.5 million, almost $13.6 million in equalization aid. Now, again, if the important thing to remember about equalization aid and its relationship to property tax is that they are inversely related. So as one goes up, the other goes down. It does not mean that there's additional money to spend, but it does mean that there'll be additional property tax relief coming to the Brown Deer taxpayers. So if all else, if all of it stays close to that estimate, and if our revenue limit is about what we're expecting based on our student enrollment, that would mean that our Fund 10 levy would drop to about $6.9 million, which is about a 19% decrease over what we did in 21-22. So again, that's going to mean that the board will have some significant opportunity to have some significant flexibility to decide what you want to do. We have the potential again of defeasing additional debt. We can return some or all of it in a property tax reduction. So there'll be some options. So it's good news for the taxpayers to see that again, that when I remember back to when I was on the board, basically that relationship has inverted where it was property taxes were the higher portion of the revenue versus property taxes. And now, property taxes were higher, aid was lower, and now that's basically reversed. It's almost 2-to-1 in favor of equalization aid. So that was a positive note for our budgeting. The pod, if you remember the pod, it was about a year ago we approved that. The pod has finished fabrication and will be installed later this month. So that's very exciting. We will actually have that in place for the start of the school year in the North Commons. So that will be, should be done by the end of July. So we'll have that ready to go and send you pictures once it is in place. As an agenda item later tonight, I am asking the board to approve the purchase of a food service cargo van. We've talked about this before. This is just the official approval from the board standpoint. This does hit the threshold for board approval, but because of the scarcity of vehicles, as you may or may not know through the news, we did have to put in a letter saying we were going to be doing this, so they could order it for us. There was a limited supply, and we were lucky enough to get one of them that will be on order. We won't see it until probably early this fall, so we'll have to make do until then, but we will have that in place and with board approval. This again is going to be used exclusively for food service. It'll be paid out of Fund 50. And that means it'll be able to be used by our food service team to deliver food to the Village Academy at the New Life Worship Center, because we will be serving breakfast and lunch to our students there, as well as any incidental errands that the food service team may need to do. Occasionally, they need to run to one of the grocery stores in the area to pick up some incidental supplies that they don't order through their normal vendors. So again, I presented to you on board docs the the information and specs of the van. It is, even though it says 2022, it is a 2023 van. The models were similar. They're identical. So we'll be looking at that Chevy. And this is, again, purchased through the state purchasing program, where the state negotiates with specific vendors for specific items. And for cargo vans, Ewald is one of the vendors for that. So that's why I'll be looking for approval tonight to approve that purchase. And then we'll pay for it actually when we take delivery of the van. Are there any questions on that item? Otherwise, I can also answer them later on.
Board members, do you have any questions for Kevin in relationship to the two items that he just spoke about? But I do have one question in relationship to the purchase of the van and it coming out of the food service account. Now, the van will be a 2023, and looking through this, is the warranty and everything else all included in this, included in this bid?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Warranty, and do they give us any
No, I
like the
didn't
free
get
oil
the-
changes and all that stuff?
Yeah, I didn't get the extended warranty, the undercoating, as they say, but no, what Chevy's maintenance plan is included for the first couple of years, I believe. And then, Tammy will be kind of overseeing the maintenance as she does with all of our vehicles, taking good care of it. Eventually the plan is potentially to sell the van to Fund 10 and have it replace our dilapidated maintenance van at some point. But for now, I think this will be a great acquisition to help with the food service program.
Thank you. Any other board members have any questions for Mr. Clemming? All right, thank you very much.
I do have two other items. I just wanted to double check on the ban question.
Okay.
So the two other items, just a quick update on the budget, or actually it's not really an update, but just reminding you that we're in the process of closing out the budget for the 21-22 fiscal year. I'm not ready tonight to report on what the potential surplus could be. I will share that with the board via email when I do have a number for you or a range that it'll be. So you'll have some information in advance of the next board meeting. If we decide, or if the board is interested in making a transfer to Fund 46, which is that long-term capital improvement fund, which we made our first deposit last year of $250,000. If the decision of the board is to move some of the money to that fund as well, then we need to do that before July 30th. So I would need board approval on the 26th. So I'll have that information to you, like I said, in advance, so you'll at least be able to see, here's the surplus, here would be a recommendation for us. And then if we don't move it into Fund 46, then it would end up remaining in Fund 10 fund balance.
All right, but you will be doing this, so our next meeting is actually the 26th. So you'll be
Right.
presenting on the 26th.
Yes, but I will share with you what that number is in advance, just so you're not finding out on the 26th. You'll find out hopefully a week before, just so you can then think about the ramifications. And I will do the full presentation of it though on the 26th, so you can make a final decision.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and then finally, this is the item I updated or added this afternoon regarding our short-term borrow. I think I've mentioned it before that I'm looking at potentially using a line of credit this year for our short-term borrow. And then just as a reminder to our newer board members, or those who may not remember, for cash flow purposes, the district uses its Fund 10 fund balance to cover cash expenditures throughout the year. Our low point is in November, basically, when after we get our July computer aid payment from the state, we don't see any significant revenue until December, when the first portion of our equalization aid payment is made. So until then, we are relying on our cash balances that we have in order to make payroll and other expenses. So traditionally, the board and the district has had to borrow money in the short term to cover that shortfall. When I started on the board many years ago, we were borrowing over $4 million a year at the time. If you remember last year, we borrowed only $1 million in my first year as business manager, but we did borrow it for the entire year. So knowing that interest rates are going up, I'm kind of thinking that it's not in our best interest to borrow a significant amount of money for an entire year. So again, looking at that line of credit and talking to BMO Bank, which is our primary bank for all of our other purposes. Just in comparison, I talked to them today. So using the numbers of what we paid last year, it was a much lower interest rate through the PMA tax anticipation note program. That was a program that we were part of. They take many school districts and borrow money, and then they invest it for this purpose. Well, we borrowed $1 million last year, and it cost us about $10,000. Again, that was at a much lower interest rate. Looking at where we are now, I think prime is 4.4%. And with the reductions that we get minus prime, and then we have a discount because we're a tax, it's non-taxable bonds that we'd be doing. That would turn us into about a 3.6% interest rate. And so borrowing $1 million for 30 days would cost about the same. So again, I'm waiting for numbers from PMA to tell me where they are anticipating interest rates to be, and the interest rates, obviously, we're not going to know, but they would, at the time of closing, that'll be whatever the interest rate is, that's what we'll be paying. So I would rather, I think, pay, even if it's a little higher rate in November for a very short period of time, than pay for, say, $1 million or $750,000 for an entire year that might be at 3 or 4%. So I'm not asking you to approve anything tonight, but I'm just kind of letting you know where my thought process is, and just trying to reduce those interest costs as much as possible. So I anticipate over the next several weeks, I'll finalize a decision to bring a recommendation to you to probably most likely go with the line of credit as opposed to a fixed borrow.
Question for you. Well, I don't, well, Anita, you got a question first?
I was just gonna ask, is that the only time of the school of the academic year that we could potentially incur a shortfall?
Yes.
That is,
Yes.
okay. So outside of that period, which I understand and know that period very well, but after that period, your funds are coming in on a consistent type basis that you don't have to worry about a shortfall anymore.
Correct. And again, with our shift of funds going, our shift of revenue coming from equalization aid versus property taxes, in December, we get about 40% of our equalization aid arrives. And then in January, we start getting property tax payments. And then we get additional equalization aid payments throughout the rest of the spring. So really, and I did, not being familiar with how our cash flow was, I actually did, and I will share it with the board as I wrap up the 21-22 year. I'll show you the cash flow from last year. We actually dipped. I know even PMA, when they did a cash flow analysis for us last year, they thought we might not need to borrow, but I was not comfortable with that stance. So I did.
Sure.
We borrowed $1 million, and I think at one point we dipped a little bit under the $1 million. So we probably need a little something, but I don't think whatever we need this year, it's going to mount to that we would need it for more than 30, maybe 40 days, 45 days. And it would certainly, I would certainly work with my grant claiming and other things to make sure we had revenue and cash coming in to help minimize that cost. I should also mention that the one other piece, there's two pieces to this. There's the interest rates that are involved, and there's a bunch of legal documents that have to be prepared. So there are attorney's fees and other underwriting fees. So for the BMO product, it's about $7,500 for all of the paperwork involved. And then I calculated, as an example, with that 30-day rate costing us about $3,000. So that was in that $10,500 range. They do believe that $7,500 is the high end of what it would cost. So again, that'll all depend on as that's completed, what those costs are. The one thing though to note with the BMO product is that there is a inactivity fee. So if we don't use the funds at all, we'll be charged from an interest standpoint a minimum of 0.0 or 0.15%. So for $1 million, that'd be $1,500. But that's a small amount to pay for the safety and peace of mind of knowing that we have access to the cash if we were to need it for some reason at that point. So that's why I think it's going to be a much better option for us for this year, and hopefully going forward as long as our fund balance stays as high as it is.
Yeah, and did I miss how much the line of credit you'll be asking for?
I'm just estimating $1 million right now. With our increase in our food service fund balance has increased. I can't see it going up more than that because we didn't really even need the full $1 million. So it could be less. We could end up doing 750 or 500. I mean, I want to do a better analysis before I commit to what that number is. But even at these small amounts, I mean, $1 million costing us $3,000 versus, something costing $2,000, having an extra pad would make me sleep better.
And absolutely. And then finally, let's just ask if you, and I think you maybe mentioned this in a statement that you said, but if you were to borrow this maximum of $1 million, when we got that first set of monies in December, I believe it is, we would have the ability to pay back the $4 million.
Correct.
That would be the maximum scenario, but we would have the ability to pay it all back.
Right. And so my thought is that and I think it's usually around December 7th is when that payment is made by the state. So assuming we had to borrow this on November 7th, it might even be less than that. I mean, we could be going, if we have to have payroll for the 15th and the 30th, those are going to be our two biggest hits to our cash at
Absolutely.
that point. So I feel pretty confident that the million is probably a good number, and I'm guessing the 30 days is a pretty good estimate as
Okay.
well.
All right, sounds great, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Okay, then that is
Kevin,
all of my business. Oh, go ahead.
I got a question for you, Kev.
Absolutely.
A question for you now. I don't know exactly how feasible this is, but since we do have such a surplus in relationship to the food service account, could we borrow the money from the food service account and pay ourselves back interest to ourselves if there was enough money in there to be able to do that?
Well, this is just, we're not actually, borrowing anything from any particular fund. This is just our cash on hand. So part of the cash on hand is our Fund 50 fund balance. So because we're going to have $1 million in fund balance at the end of this fiscal year, that's part of the cash we have. So in addition to what we have in Fund 10. So we're not really, it's just having that extra money is helping us. So there may be a point once we spend down our Fund 50 balance, if we don't add to Fund 10, we may be in a situation where we have to borrow a little bit more because that overall cash flow. So we're not, there's nothing, the money isn't set aside. Accounting wise, it's set aside in Fund 50, but in our bank account, we're just trying to, keep it together. And then if we have to reduce into some place and bring it back to Fund 50, that's not an issue for us. So it is just from our standpoint, we look at our total cash in all of our accounts to make sure we have enough to meet our obligations.
All right. Thanks a lot, Kev.
problem.
Any other board members? Ms. Robinson?
Yeah, I just have a curiosity type question. Could we potentially get a better rate on the line of credit or the borrow if we go through a credit union versus a bank?
Potentially, I went with BMO first because they're a bank we have a relationship with, and because the money would go from our account into, basically there would be an instant transfer. I can certainly research other, other organizations that we don't necessarily have a relationship with. But I thought at least this first year, again, when you're looking at the amount of money we're talking about, I think it'll be relatively small. So I don't know what savings, maybe we'd see a slight interest rate savings, but again, I don't know what the interest rate's going to be until we get closer to the time we would actually borrow. But I'm happy to make a couple calls just to see what other options might be available. They also have to because we have so much money already at BMO, we have a certain relationship. So I'd have to see what other fees would be introduced by opening up an account with a different institution. So.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we don't have a relationship with the credit union, particularly like an educator's credit union or something like that.
I haven't changed any banks that we have used since I started, and BMO has been one of our main partners. It was M&I, originally, I think is where we had our money invested. I think for a while we had some money at Guarantee, but basically, we have you saw the list of depositories last month. I mean, most of our money is either sitting at BMO, at our WISC account through PMA, or through Tri-City, which is mostly where food services.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions for Kevin? All right. Thank you, Mr. Clemming. All right. Let's go on to our next item, which is item B, approval of new hires. Mr. Clemming.
Yes, we have 4 new hires. We actually have more, but we're finalizing paperwork on some of them, so we'll be bringing them to you next time. But the 4 that we have completed information on this evening is Chloe Jimenez, who will be teaching elementary school 3rd grade, Deborah McRoberts, who will be teaching 5th grade, Stephanie Smith, who will be a kindergarten teacher, and Taylor Surprise, who will be a 3rd grade teacher.
All right, thank you very much. All right, would someone like to make a motion to approve the hiring of these teachers for the 2022-2023 academic school year?
Dr. Beto, if I can make a motion to approve the hiring of Chloe Jimenez as an elementary school teacher for the 2022-2023 academic school year. Can I read all of these? They are all the same. Great.
Right, read all of them.
Okay. Starting over, I'd like to make a motion to approve the hiring of Chloe Jimenez, Deborah McRoberts, Stephanie Smith, and Taylor Surprise, all as elementary school teachers for the 2022-2023 academic school year.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. The motion has been made. Do we have a second? Is that Ms. Walker?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Walker, could you turn, I think you probably need to turn your headset up. I can barely hear you. All right, a motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any conversation? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 6-0. We welcome Chloe, Deborah, Stephanie, and Taylor to our elementary school family. And hey, we were expecting wonderful things, and welcome to the Brown Deer School District family. All right, let's go on to our next approval of any resignations. Mr. Clemick?
We have no resignations this evening, so huzzah, huzzah.
All right. So let's type wood. All right, so that makes life good. All right, so we do have any resignations, so that's a good thing. So now let's go on to our item D, going back to something that we were just talking about, approval of the food service van purchase. Mr. Clemick.
Yes, again, I presented this information. This is the quote from Ewald Auto Group, again, through the state purchasing program. We're looking at a 2023 Chevy Express cargo van. The total cost with the discount from the state is $29,202. Although I would ask that we don't use that number exactly, because there is also a delivery charge, which I can't anticipate exactly yet. So if you want to do a not to exceed, I'd ask that you just throw a couple $1,000s on top of that, just to make sure I have enough to cover the destination charge.
Delivery charge, so they would charge
The
us a delivery
destination
charge? I mean,
Well, there's always a destination fee on new vehicles. That's when to transport it to the dealership.
That already shows on the quote sheet.
Line
Yeah.
2, Kevin.
Yeah, let me see.
EFT charge.
Yes, I guess he did mention to me, let me just double check, because he did say something, I'm trying to remember what it was. Something was not 100% set in stone. So one moment here. One moment.
Destination charge is in here, Kevin, already at
Yeah,
for
nice.
$1,695.
I might be using the wrong term. Let me just see what he said here.
So would our grand total be the $34,695 rather than the $29,202?
Well, that's before the discount. We should be paying close to the 29. It's just there was something else on there, and I apologize.
What about the registration fees? It talks about not being included in
I wonder if
in the
that's maybe.
comments.
Yeah, let me do. I'm just going through a long email thread here. Well, I apologize. I know there's something in there. I'm trying to figure out what it is. If you don't, if you're uncomfortable with going above that, I can always, rebring it if it's necessary, or if you want to give me a little bit of latitude in case there is one additional fee attached.
Well, what if we were to do this, Kevin? When we look at the last page of ours, it says a grand total of $34,695. What if we were to say that not to exceed that dollar amount that's on there?
Oh, that's fine. It's going to be much less than that. So that's
Right. I'm
if
just
you're
saying, but
comfortable with that.
as long as we don't exceed, the $34,695 that's on here that's prior to all of the discounts. So if we turned around and we did that, then we should be fine. You should be fine to be able to continue to go.
Yeah, that would be plenty. And like I said, it'll be less than that. So.
Okay. So what we'll do is then we'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2023 cargo van, not to exceed $34,695. Okay.
That'll be fine.
Thank you. All right, board members, questions for Kevin before we go to a motion? Hearing and seeing none, someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the purchase of a 2023 food service cargo van as presented, not to exceed $34,695.
All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second? Is that Ms. Macon? All right. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further conversation? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor with raised hand and or aye? All right, motion carries unanimously 6-0. All right, Kevin,
Thank you very much.
you have the go ahead to purchase a van.
I
All
will,
right.
I will bring it along at one of the next board meetings if we ever get a chance to, or once we do get, no, I'm just kidding.
All
So,
right.
so thank you very much.
All right, so now let's go on to our item 3, engage in innovative staff. I do, okay, with this,
Dr. Garrison.
Dr. Garrison, I'm gonna send it because he sends us all the notes. So Dr. Garrison,
Thank you.
Dr.
to
Garrison, I
unmute.
think you're on mute.
Forgive me, the first one we're going to be talking about today was
Academic
on the,
standards.
can you hear me? Academic
Yes.
standards, correct. It will be the academic standards one. And the academic standard is something that we approve yearly. It's a standard to pretty much every school district in the state of Wisconsin. Right around this time, we have academic standards that we approve, that we're asking the board to approve through our Department of Public Instruction, English Language Arts, Mathematics, our 4 core subjects, science and social studies. These 4 subjects have all been updated on this list right here for the 2022-2023 school year. And pretty much as presented, this information is, again, standard to what we have done, and not only in Brown Deer School District, but across many other districts in the state. And so these are our standards. I don't want to belabor the conversation. However, if you have any questions about the standards and the document that I shared earlier with you on Friday, and of course, some small changes yesterday, please let me know.
I do have one quick question. So our ELA and our mathematics actually have the Wisconsin academic standards as well as Common Core, but our social studies and our science are just using the Wisconsin academic standards.
That's correct.
All right.
And
Did
we
they-
also, for science, we also use NGSS and Next Generation Science
All
Standards.
right, I was getting ready to ask about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay, so we got the next generation standards on there. All right, and then social studies, we're just using the Wisconsin academic standards.
That is correct.
All right, board members, questions for the good doctor in relationship to our academic standards for 2022, 2023. All right, hearing none. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Garrison, in relationship to that. So now let's move on. So we need to make a motion to approve those annual academic standards as presented. Would someone like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to approve the School District of Brown Deer 2022-2023 Annual Notice of Academic Standards as presented.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Dr. Vito, I'll second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion for Dr. Garrison or any questions from the board? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, motion carries unanimously 6-0. Thank you very much, Dr. Garrison.
Thank you.
All right, let's move forward now. Now let's move on to item B, our annual notice of educational opportunities. Dr. Garrison.
So just as we discussed the standards, with standards come our educational program. This is another standard opportunity that we have here in the Brown Deer School District. Of course, we have an elementary school, a middle school, a middle and a high school here in the Brown Deer School District, along with 2 programs that we offer here in the school district, our Brown Deer Academy of Learning, our AOL program, a credit recovery program in our high school. And of course, last year, we also adopted our Brown Deer Village Academy as a program that we offer here in the Brown Deer School District. This document also discusses the other, I'll say 9 or 10 additional themes that we offer here in the school district, which includes gifted and talented, ESL, English language learners, as English ESL program, early childhood special education program, alternative education programs, and just different programs that we offer here in the Brown Deer School District since we are a comprehensive learning environment. There are other options that we have in the Brown Deer School District, which also includes our Start College Now program and our early college credit program. The difference between the 2 is that one is pretty much the ECCP. The ECCP program offers college opportunities for students 9th through 12th grade, and the Start College Now program offers opportunities for students in 11th and 12th grade. Naturally, there's a cost that's associated with everything that we do as pertains to students taking, I like to say, college credits. Those costs are different depending on what program that you're entering the ECCP program, which we also oftentimes push more students towards that program, is because it's a little cheaper cost, to be honest with you. Our districts pay a portion of that versus in the Start College Now program, we pay all of it. And so we oftentimes really try to push students in the ECCP program. Both of the opportunities, we allow up to 18 credits for students to get extra learning here in our school district in a college program. There's other general information in this document, again, that is standard to us being a school district, but overall, we offer a comprehensive learning environment for all of our students and families here in the Brown Deer School District.
Questions for Mr. Garrison, for Dr. Garrison, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I actually have two questions for you, Dr. Garrison. Number one, having our early college credit program and our other program in relationship to Start College Now program, do we know about how many students that have actually participated? How many students that we had participated in that program, and kind of what that cost actually was associated with for like last year? Because for me, I would really love for us to tout these educational programs that we have going on, that, you know, we're getting our students ready to go to college. There is opportunities. We do have high academic standards. There are opportunities for those students that want to be able to do that, are advanced to be able to do that. And I would really love to be able to tout that either on our district website, just in general, period, point blank, that we do have those options for our students to be able to do that. And I know one of the things you said was, you know, the cost is actually a lot higher if we just did the Start College Now program rather than ECCP program or whatever. I don't know what the difference in the cost would be, but I am interested to know how many students that we have had participate in that program, and potentially what was the cost for that? Because to me, those would be dollars well spent if we were able to say that we have X amount of our students that are using this opportunity and being able to move forward from an academic standpoint. You know, as a board, I think we all can look at each other right now and say that we've never not did something that was in the best interest of our kids from an academic standpoint when it came to the money part. So.
That's correct. And what I can do is I can put together a short presentation that can explain what we've done here in our school district. I do know we do have students that participate, Dr. Beadle and board members. I did not prepare a slide presentation as it pertains to how many of our students, but this is a question that I can definitely bring back upon request.
I greatly appreciate that. And I'm quite sure the other board members would probably really like to see that information, because, you know, Dr. Garrison, as you know, as educators, man, we always want to be able to tout academic excellence and being able to have those options for our students. So yes.
I will say that we did get a credit reimbursement of $5,915
we'll take it
when we did participate in our ECCP program most recently. We got a bill back from, like I said, we get money back when we participate in ECCP program versus our Start College Now program. So again, that's something that I can bring back to the board as information.
All right, so that $5,000 plus the $5,000 Kevin is saving from the van, that's $10,000. So all we need now is another $990,000.
We'll almost be at $1 million. You're right.
We'll almost be there. We're on our way. So would someone like to be able to make unless someone actually has any other questions for Dr. Garrison, would someone like to make a motion to approve the annual notice of educational opportunities?
I have a question first. The AOL program, is that primarily through the summer school that we do that then?
So we have AOL that's actually during our regular school year. Here in the district, mostly in our upper level juniors and seniors who are credit deficient. So our AOL program is ran by, her name is slipping me now.
It's Kinder, Alicia Kinder.
Alicia Kinder, thank you, Ms. Dr. Brown. Mrs. Kinder runs our AOL program here in our school district. And again, it's mostly for students who are credit deficient, 11th and 12th graders.
So
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, could someone say exactly what AOL stands for?
Sure.
Brown.
It's the Academy of Online Learning.
Yeah,
Academy of
sorry, it
Online.
escaped me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's right here. in the
Okay, sorry.
definition, Sorry, Academy of Online Learning.
So is that during the regular school day or
Yes.
is it?
Yes,
Yes.
it is during the regular school day. Yes, ma'am.
And let me also add, Ms. Robinson, that much of what our students do in the AOL program is mostly competency-based. And so there's also some project-based learning that happens in the AOL program as well. And so it's a matter of understanding where students are as it relates to, number of credits that they have, ensuring that the ultimate goal is to get our students to graduation from in their senior year. But it has been here since I've arrived. I will say that. It used to be housed at the church, at one of the churches on 60th. The name of the church escapes me. And then maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we brought it back up to the high school so that it can be fully integrated with the rest of our students as well. So it's going along very well. And so far so good in that space. We do not have a lot of, quite honestly, we don't have a lot of students who are credit deficient, but we do know that being able to offer that service for ones that are, because we get students who have not necessarily, as you well know, been with us, since their freshman year in high school. So it works really well with Ms. Kinder at the high school, and the classroom is right across from the CTE program. So they're in that hallway in that space down there, so.
Okay, yeah, I know I don't recall hearing much about it, which is what made me question that.
Absolutely. No, thank you for asking questions.
Any other questions? For Dr. Garrison? All right, would someone like to make a motion to approve the annual notice of educational opportunities? Ms. Macon, you are muted. You're muted? Yeah. Should be able to click on yourself and then remove the, turn your microphone on. All right, well, well, we have technical difficulty. Would someone else
Yeah.
like to make the motion?
Yep, I will make a motion to approve the School District of Brown Deer 2022-2023 annual notice of educational opportunities as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Dr. Beto, I'll second that motion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and/or aye? All right, motion carries unanimously 6-0. Dr. Garrison, thank you very much, sir, for that presentation. All right, let's go on to our item number 4, engaged learners. Dr. Kelsey Brown, I would believe.
We do not have agenda items, Dr. Beto, under engaged learners. Actually, the standards piece captured number 3 and 4, innovative staff and engaged learners.
Okay, so
At least on the
now,
document, at least on the agenda I'm looking at. Am I missing something?
well, because we have engaged learners, A, the 2022-2023 school academic year registration, and then the 22 open house for August 23rd and August 24th.
Okay, well, there you have it. I just wanted to inform. I wanted to inform the community, registration has begun for the 22-23 school year. We started registration on July 1st and all registration is online. And then the open house, just wanted our families to be aware of what open house will look like for the upcoming school year, August 23rd, 2022, last names A through L, from 3 to 6 p.m. And then August 24th, 2022, families with the last name M through Z from 4:30 to 7:30. And we just wanted to make it clear that if your last name falls on a date where you're unable to make it, that you can avail yourself to any one of those dates. We just went by last name in order to be able to try to manage lines. And we're trying to make this year a one-stop shop for our families. So they'll be able to receive and get everything they need for the upcoming school year at our open houses. Pictures will be taken and so on and so forth. So hopefully this will work out where parents won't have to come on multiple occasions to be able to receive what they need for students. So thank you for that, Dr. Beadle. I'm looking at a previous agenda that went out on my iPad. So thank you for that and my apologies. But this is really an update to provide information. So thank you.
All right. A question for you, Dr. Kelsey Brown. During this open house, will all of the teachers be present during that time and stuff to be able to talk with parents? Will there be tours also going on during that same time?
Yes, we'll have Ms. Shimmons will be available to provide tours. We will have provide information around resources that we will have available for our students next year. And yes, all of our teachers will be present in classrooms, so parents will be able to drop off their supplies on that day. And so it's how we typically do open house. And as we know, or how we typically operationalize open house. And we know in the previous 2 years, parents weren't necessarily allowed to be in the buildings, but we're open for business. And so we hope that works out. And so we'll see what happens. But we're excited about it and looking forward to open house as those dates approach. They are approaching us quickly. We're already mid-July, right?
Right. Will board members have the opportunity to come and just be part of the process as well too?
Sure, absolutely. At any time, on any day, please come on by, and actually you can perhaps be in the front of the building and welcome our families, our parents, introduce yourselves, give them an opportunity to meet you in any one of the 3 buildings. That'd be great.
All right. Thank you for the invite.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Kelsey Brown in relationship to our open house? All right, thank you. All right, let's go on to item number 5, engage board and community to lead discussion in relationship to our strategic planning organization and the organization that we would be looking at to potentially hire to help us do our 5-year strategic plan. So Dr. Kelsey Brown.
Well, we know we had two presenters, or we had 3 presenters. So it's important to inform the community that one of the presenters, Kathleen Cook and Mr. Gallagher, took on some additional duties with another organization. And so they are no longer in a position to serve us. So now we are down to two organizations. We have Drew Howitz, who was our last presenter, formerly known as Patina Solutions. I don't think that's the name of the organization anymore, but Drew Howitz, who did our last strategic plan, who helped facilitate the process. And then our first presenter was Mr. Ted Knightsky from CESA 6, who presented, he was our first presenter. And so we are of the mindset that what we need in order to, is that information you would like from me, or would you like to discuss it first, Dr. Beadle, and then administration comes after you all to discuss it? How would you like to proceed?
I think, you know what, I think everyone that had the opportunity, board members, by a show of hands, did you get an opportunity to revisit the 3 videos? Well, now if we take one of them out, did everyone get an opportunity to revisit and look at the video presentations? Raise your hand if you get an opportunity to do that prior to our meeting today. Okay. There was one question that came through from Ms. Robinson in relationship to one of the organizations, and we did get that answer. Ms. Robinson, that question, did you get the answer that you were looking for?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
I don't know if you
just-
wanted to discuss it again.
Yeah, so it was just in relation to Mr. Knightsky. He talked about having those ongoing workshops throughout the year with the various stakeholders. And I wanted to know if there was an additional cost each time that he met with someone else from the district. And he said, no, that's all a part of his cost estimate. I also wanted to know, he talked about having that dashboard available. And I asked if there is an additional cost for the dashboard that is accessible throughout the time that we're using the plan. And he did say that the initial cost for the dashboard is about $800.
And that dashboard was actually part of his presentation that he had that was able to show us all of the different components for us, school report card, all the rest of those different pieces that were part of that in his presentation that was there. Board members, any other things that you saw or discussion points that you would like to have between the two entities that we will be choosing between tonight? I think for myself, Mr. Horowitz, when he did his presentation, he actually did have some really good questions in relationship to the kind of the direction that we wanted to go. I do believe, though, that one of the things that was a little concerning to me was that he actually did the process for us before for our 5-year plan, and I would have thought that he would have known our district a little bit better in being able to put together exactly what we needed, because he actually had been part of that process before. But that was a little bit concerning, and then not being able to kind of let us know a price point either way was also a little bit concerning, as it seemed to me like it was almost going to be like it was almost a la carte. Like, you know, if you do this, it's going to be this cost. If it's this, it's going to be this cost. If it's this, then it potentially could be this cost. So I didn't know if it was going to take us a month just to answer all his questions and give him more information in order for him to let us know what exactly he could do. And that's not saying anything against it, because I think when we did the process before, I was actually part of that process and doing it. And it was actually an excellent process that we went through. I was just a little concerned that that didn't resonate a little bit more within his presentation that he gave to us in relationship to that. Other board members, comments and questions or things that you may have noticed in relationship to the presentations. Ms. Peterson, you're next.
Yes, I probably would have to agree with you, Dr. Vito. In my viewing of the presentations, I had to second guess myself whether or not, and I apologize because I can't remember their names, but
Drew and Ted. Yeah, Drew-
yes,
Drew
Drew and Ted, yes.
Not Bill and Ted, but Drew and Ted.
And I had to go back and do a little research to see if they were the previous ones that had created the plan for us, because I too got the impression that he was asking questions that, had he been a part of us years ago when the plan was created, that he would have kind of known the answers to. So I was a little confused by it. And then with no disrespect to him, but in listening to Ted Niski's, the confidence that was there and what he could present and offer to us was so much more apparent, at least for myself, in viewing just the presentation in comparison to Drew and Ted's presentation. Again, with no disrespect to either one.
Thank you very much, Peterson. Ms. Walker?
I echo your sentiments exactly. Can you not hear me?
I can barely hear you. Really, did we try to turn up the volume on the system itself on her laptop? Does anyone else have anything coming while we try to see if we can get Ms. Walker fixed? Ms. Robinson?
I mean, I would agree that just with what Mr. Niski presented in terms of what he'll be able to do, what's going to be our takeaway at the end, how we will have principles that we'll be able to implement immediately to get us to the process of what had been suggested. It seems like it's going to be much more streamlined and more forward thinking than what we've had in the past. So I definitely appreciate how clear and concise he was, and the process that he presented, essentially showing us things that have been tried and true or that have worked in other districts, et cetera, and the work that he's done before. So I definitely appreciated those components from his presentation. As far as Drew, I don't know what to expect. As a project manager, I would never advise my customer to enter into a contract without knowing what the cost is going to be, not even a guesstimate of what the cost is going to be. So that was definitely concerning from his presentation, and it does seem as though we will have to enter into the contract and begin the work before we can have some idea of what that will be.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Wonderful insight. Ms. Walker, let's see.
Try again. Are we hooked up now?
Oh, no,
Okay.
you're great now.
Great. Thank you, Kara. I echo everyone's sentiment. I was really impressed with Ted's presentation after rewatching it. And I thought the organization that he showed in his presentation and his combination of background and experience was really right on. And I really appreciated his one-page idea for the stakeholders without having a whole binder. And after watching Drew's presentation again, I feel like it was the total opposite, very disorganized and not knowing what we could expect was a point that I didn't appreciate. For me, I think it would be Ted.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Walker, for your insight in relationship to this. Ms. Macon and Ms. Smith, do you have anything that you would like to add to the discussion? Ms. Smith, go ahead.
I think one of the things that struck me when we saw it, when he first presented it, and then when I went over it, was that with Mr. Knightsky's, it looks like something that as it goes along, it's something that is expected to be implemented. That is, it's built with the expectation of being able to operationalize it with having, you know, having the website and the ongoing meetings. So there's that, so you get that expectation that once we get it together, it's something that will be progress monitored, or at least, you know, notations as to how we're doing with it. So that's what I was looking for, the ease of use, and is that expectation built in to the plan? And that's what the structure of the plan is what I got from that one. So I would pick that one as well.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Smith, for your insight. Ms. Macon, were we able to get your technical issues taken care of? No? Do you have anything that you would like to add? Potentially? No? Okay, thank you. Okay, with that being said, all board members have actually spoken. So administration, you had things that you would like to be able to share with us?
Thank you, Dr. Beto. And so we did provide a little insight before, as I think three of us on here were part of Kevin, Monica, Dr. Beto, and Ms. Macon were part of the last strategic planning. So and Kara, 5 of us were part of the last strategic planning process. And so I agree with you, Dr. Beto, in that the facilitation of the process, as I knew it at the time, that being my first one, I felt like it did go really, really well. However, when we look at what we currently have, even as, you know, ending my second, or now I'm in my 3rd year as a superintendent, that was my first point of information for me, is to look at the strategic plan and understand how we can implement, you know, where were we? What have we accomplished, and where do we need to go? And I think I mentioned to you all last time, it is just too much there to be able to implement and operationalize. It does not mean that we may or may not take some of what is there in the current strategic plan as we move forward. But I will say, I do like the idea that Mr. Knightsky stays with you through the entire process, right? So from beginning to end, he will be with us and provide more discipline as it relates to helping us stay on track with implementation of this particular plan. And I think what we also learned is less is more as we develop a strategic plan, and he's there with us to help develop it. He doesn't, you know, leave us come in and conduct focus groups, if you will, and then he's not with us anymore. And then I also like the fact that he has the superintendent lens and also the elected official lens, which I think brings our work together as the superintendent board relationship to continue to advance the mission and vision of our school district. So I really appreciate that about him. And what we also know about Ted is we all agree that he's able to have those courageous conversations with us. Mr. Klimick and I were talking today. Ted, he kind of hits you below the belt. You don't really know you've been hit below the belt, but it makes you think about what you can do different and those adjustments that are necessary for us to pivot when necessary or continue on when we know we're impacting what we're trying to do. So that is my take on Mr. Knightsky. And I'm hopeful that the board will approve Mr. Knightsky as we embark upon our new strategic planning process.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Kelsey Brown. Board members, do we have anything else that we'd like to be able to discuss before we actually take this into a motion to vote on which entity that we would like to have represent us? Any other questions, any other comments? All right, so with all the discussion that we've kind of had right now, let's do this. A show of hands who would rather go with Mr. Knightsky and CESA-6. Well, no, we need to do this because we'd have to put the name of the organization. So if we don't say who we think that we like, we can't do it. So all in favor of Mr. Knightsky and CESA-6? Okay, there we go. So I guess that would be for Drew Hortz. None. All right, so it seems as though we're unanimous when we think that we go with Mr. Ted Knightsky and CESA-6. So who would like to be able to make the motion to approve Ted Knightsky and CESA-6 for the strategic planning organization?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Ted Knightsky and CESA-6 as the 2023 through 2028 strategic planning organization for the school district of Brown Deer.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. See, you came in nice and loud and clear. All right, so we have motion and I say, any other further conversation or discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor with raised hand and or aye. All right, thank you very much. Motion carries unanimously 6-0. All right. Boom. All right. So now we're at the end of that. So now we can go on to motion. We can go to number 6, motion to move into closed session to discuss the district administrative evaluation. Would someone like to make a motion?
Dr. Beto, I will make a motion to enter into closed session to discuss district administrator evaluation pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C.
All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Ms. Robinson, roll call vote.
Beto,
Aye.
Daniels Ashley is absent. Peterson,
Aye.
Robinson, aye. Smith.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized I have the older
Macon?
sheet. Macon.
Do we have Macon?
And Walker.
All right. Motion carries unanimously 6-0 for us to go into closed session. This will be the conclusion of our open session meeting, as we will not be coming back into open session because we do not have a vote that we have to come back into. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for attending the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting this evening. Continue to enjoy this wonderful warm weather that we're having right now. Get outside, see some sun, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much and good night.